Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee Corner episode 2. Today we are going to be talking about a little bit of tips and stuff like that you guys have given me last episode. And thank you guys so much up front because we got 10 views on the last post and we already have 3 subscribers. We're climbing already and I'm just loving this. So, yeah, you guys give me a lot of suggestions and a lot of really positive feedback, and I love it so much. But I love you guys' feedback, so go ahead and comment down what you guys think, so far. But one of the suggestions that you guys have given me was how long I should do podcasts. So, one of you said that doing longer podcasts isn't as effective. I want something original. I want to do something more than just a podcast. So one of you said that longer podcasts tend to take longer to get directly to the point, and they're long and drawn out, and a lot of people don't like them. A lot of people like longer podcasts, so that's why in the mornings I'm going to be uploading 10 to 7 minute podcasts, and at some night times I'm going to be, if you don't see one in the morning, I might be uploading Midnight Cafe. So you may be asking yourself, Tim, what is Midnight Cafe? And the answer to that is longer podcast for the people who like it, so I'm kind of touching bases on both. But guys, I'm incredibly ecstatic about this new project, I guess you could say. Yeah, so that was just a little bit of an announcement. So again, yeah, thank you guys so much for 10 views on the last video, and we already have 3 subscribers. We're going so much already. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about progression today, and not general progression. We're talking about phone progression mostly. So, as you guys know, I think the first form of really telephone that we had was the Morse code. We had Morse code, right? And that was a form of telephone, some would say. But over time, we started advancing in technology and making things really interesting. And, we started just progressing, not only in phones, but in everything we did to make everything more efficient. So we had that classic spindle home phone. Then we had the really in 90s-ish. We had home phones, and we had the first mobile phone, and it was basically a brick. It came with an antenna. You would whip out the antenna, and you would put in a number, and there you go. And that was some pretty advanced technology for the time. And we started progressing, and then we got to flip phones, which just gotta love flip phones. One of the classic things that's brought us to where we are today. And then we started getting phones with keyboards on them and these different types of flip phones, and we stuck there for a couple of years, maybe 3 or so. But we stuck there for a while, and then as we do, we stick there. We stick to something for a couple of years, and then see how far we can take it and see how far what we can do to advance it. And then we saw our first smartphone released by, I think, Apple, and it was something that struck us. Getting rid of that keyboard, getting rid of that keypad, just amazed us so much. It was revolutionary, because getting rid of that, you just had basically a mini computer that you would just touch in your pocket, and it was so thin, and it was for people who did business. That's really what it was. Smartphones were for people who were doing business and they wanted to get something done. And it had a browser on it, it had all of this on it, and smartphone was really a new era. Apple went from the first iPhone, and they started progressing, and they started making amazing changes. Even still, the iPhone 4 has one it amazes me because I had an iPhone 4 way back when, and that camera it's still amazing today. I have some great pictures from it. And then we started getting better and better. We got Samsung, who was making really good phones. One of them kind of blew up. But we had some really good advancements and progression in our phones. And that kept things moving forward and getting things done. And people were really interested, and everybody was so ready to see what the new phone would look like, right? What you would add, what type of all this new technology that you would add, and really it was the companies going after each other saying, I'm making this better, and then they would just punch each other to just constantly one-up each other. And that's what kept things interesting about it, Then we struck the iPhone, or whatever type of phone you had. You had your Droids. You had, I think it was Samsung. I can't remember what Samsung was at the time, because I've always had an iPhone, because I just find them simpler. But just people started copying off of each other, somewhat. It wasn't too bad. We had the headphone jack, and we had portable music and everything with these new smartphones, and everybody was really excited, especially with their cameras. It now feels like, in order to, if you're a YouTuber and you're making vlogs and stuff, you don't have to go out and spend $2,000 on a camera because of how amazing and just intricate these new phone cameras are, or were, and they still are now. But it just really took everybody just by surprise, because Apple, they made Apple Pay, they made Safari, they made their own search engine, they made their contacts different. They kept on progressing. Okay, so that's basically the main point. They kept on progressing. Every phone company was progressing as they went and learning from their mistakes and making something new that would help us. But after we hit the iPhone 6 and up, so iPhone 6, 7, and 8, 9, things started to look the same. I just upgraded from my iPhone 6 to an iPhone 8, and only thing that's really different is better camera quality. It's a completely glass phone for wireless charging, which wireless charging is incredibly helpful, but it's not too much of a change. But it basically is the same phone. And then the iPhone 7, it wasn't anything different. And even Samsung was struggling to make something better, something better than they already had. iPhones started getting, I guess you could say they started getting worried, because they started trying to make changes and everything as quick as they could, because so far they have released, I think, a phone every single year. Quote me if I'm wrong. Well, tell me if I'm wrong, sorry. And they started panicking because they didn't know what to do. They were running out of things for progression. They were running out of ideas. And they got rid of the headphone jack, and people were mad about that, right? And some, the Android companies started getting rid of their headphone jack because they saw, the top empire of phone just lose its headphone jack, and they're like, oh, that's what people want. And people were a little bit mad at this because you had to get all of these adapters just to get, headphones. And then they replaced it with 2 speakers, and they got more cameras. They started adding more cameras because they're like, oh, this is what people want. And that did something, but not enough. They could only add so many cameras before it was repetitive, and it started getting that way. They got rid of the home button. That ticked a lot of people off too at the beginning, because people aren't used to change. Whenever you change things up, they like it, sure, but at first they have to settle into it. Because as much as we love progression and everything, we still have to adjust to those things. people, whenever we got the internet, people thought it was going to be a fad. They were like, why do we need the internet? And it's really interesting to see how that changed. But Apple and all of these other companies started running out of ideas, and they've kept the same pace for so long. And it's okay to keep the same pace for just a little bit, but every phone that people, this isn't targeted towards the iPhone, or Apple, but I'm just using them as an example because what they do affects other phone companies, because phone companies are looking at their big brother basically and seeing what he's doing, and seeing what they can do to do the same, to duplicate what they did. So now we get up to higher iPhones, like iPhone X Max or whatever, and they have 4 cameras, and it's so unnecessary. We got 4 cameras. I mean, cool, you can do some camera checks, but what else? How is it different from the last phone? And we've kind of stayed still for a little bit, and I'm really interested to see if we do ever go any further with our phones, our smartphones. I mean, Samsung just went on a complete bridge, and they said, you know what, I'm tired of standing in place, and good for them too. So they made the foldable smartphone. So it's 2 halves of a smartphone that basically just looks like a tablet whenever you do it. And now I'm just really interested to see when we're going to move forward and when we're going to take those risks. Because if we don't take those risks, how can we progress? So Samsung, Apple, I dare you to take a bigger step, because otherwise we can't get anywhere. We had to really jump whenever we created the plans with the Wright brothers. This was different, and to progress as humankind, we have to make those, to take those differences. But I am also just a kid, so that's just some of my opinions, and yeah, I need some more ideas, guys, in the comments of what I should talk about, because I have a couple more things that I want to talk about with different guests and everything. But I'm really interested to see where this is going to go, as a channel and as a community. So in order to make that community, though, guys, please comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I will talk to you in Coffee Corner episode 3. Peace.